My name is Sahr Saffa. I was originally born in Sierra Leone. I moved here when I was 3 years old to Canada, and I'm the founder and creator of a company here called the C-Tribe Society. And through it, we have an initiative called the C-Tribe Festival that we host on a biannual basis. So I always tell people that I stumbled upon the idea of creating the C-Tribe Society. I went to New York December of 2016 with the grand vision of raising some more capital for a software company that we were developing. And at the time, 5 months before I left to New York, we raised what we call a friends and family fundraising round, which was in the six-figure mark. And before we made that trip to New York, we were running very low on our funds, so the trip had to be a success if we wanted to continue to build our software. Long story short, spent 6 weeks in New York, and we were unsuccessful with raising the funding that we needed. So coming back home, I had to lay off a lot of my staff, and I had to make some very tough decisions as to which direction I was going to move next in terms of entrepreneurship. While I was in New York, there was something that really appealed to me, and it was the fact that the city was bred off of diversity and people of different backgrounds and different ideas collaborating on projects and big opportunities. And coming back home, it was a little bit frustrating because we really didn't have that energy here, right? You would go to the same conferences, see the same people, and there was a really big difference between the haves and the have-nots. And so we wanted to address that with the C-Tribe Festival by introducing more diversity to the innovation and creative community and bringing people from different perspectives to work on big ideas. So 3 months after losing a lot of money, we transitioned into building a festival, which has ended up being, fortunately, I think, a success so far. The mission that we started off with the C-Tribe Festival got clearer as we went on, but it really started off the foundations of 3 different ideas. The first, idea or hypothesis was that diversity is a humongous disruptor, and you don't have to look very far to see that the most successful organizations and the biggest projects were founded on bringing very diverse ideas together and creating a single solution. Taking that further, we felt that people acted in silos. So if you were in the financial industry, you only interacted with other financial people. If you were a creative person and you did photography, you only hung out with other photographers. But what happens when you bring the financial people with the creative people, and what kind of synergies and what kind of ideas can come from that? The third factor that we looked at was, we don't think that it's fair that it's the people that can afford the $3,000 US to travel to New York, to spend 6 weeks there, and to be immersed in that community, for them to be the only ones who can build and develop ideas. We think that technology and our access to information has decentralized, democratized, and digitized basically ideas, and gives people of different color, gender, identity, the opportunity to build their dreams. So what made me want to become an entrepreneur was the fact that I was very stubborn. And I always believed in nonconformity, and I always wanted to be what I consider a money man. And not money for the sake of having money, but my definition of money is just really having economic opportunity. And if you think of money that way, it really changes your perspective as to how you go out and you earn it and the places that you look for it. If you have economic opportunity, you can transfer that to other individuals. You can provide a better living and better security for people that you care about and your loved ones. And I really looked at life as being in 3 stages. The first stage where you spend your time learning, the second stage where you spend your time earning, and the third stage where you spend your time returning. So a typical day for me it can be very sporadic, but I've broken out my schedules where it's only on Tuesday and Thursday that I spend my days out of the office, so that on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I can really optimize my time and get stuff done. Well, ironically, what habits and mindsets that I've adopted was the practice of meditation, exercise, and expressing empathy and gratitude for the things that you do have. I mean, my trip from New York, I could have looked at it as being a humongous detractor in my life and things that I could have looked at it as the glass being half empty, but I looked at it as, the glass being half full, in the sense that I would never want to return to this stage, where I was financially and mentally. So I took up the practice of meditating every morning. I took up the practice of going for a run every single day. And I would look at my finances every single Sunday to ensure that I wouldn't end up in a situation that I was back in February of 2017. What we'd like to achieve with C-Tribe is we want to be the Cirque du Soleil of innovation festivals. So if you think of Cirque du Soleil, what they're really good at is creating a systemized entertainment and very talented, high production show that they can take city to city. And they do it in a way that cannot be replicated, no matter how many other circuses per se there are out there. And they do it in a way that people are always looking forward to the next Cirque du Soleil show that they can go to. My favorite book, I will give you a business book and I will give you a more fictional book. So my favorite business book has been one called The Power of Habit. And it was really profound to me because in my earlier years as an entrepreneur, I didn't realize that the things that I did on a daily basis really would identify where I would be in the next year or two. The second book, it's more of a fictional read that I enjoy. It's called The Shogun. And basically, I'm a huge advocate for Japanese culture. And that book really stuck out to me because it really expressed how important patience is. I think in a world that we live in right now where you can turn on your social media feed and you can see people in your circle and people that you look up to living their best lives, it makes you wonder, why am I not there yet? Or why does this person get to enjoy that? When you realize that anything that you want to build, anything that you want to master, it takes 10 plus years to achieve that mastery. Some of the most successful entrepreneurs, individuals, they're in their early 30s, early 40s, right? So you realize that you're in a long game. Not having enough time to have the fruits of my labor be rewarding for my parents. I think that alone too is not only my greatest fear, but also my greatest motivator and what wakes me up every single morning to do the work that I do. I mean, I know for them, they feel that they have succeeded with bringing their family here and allowing them to achieve what they have achieved, whether it be a university education and a very comfortable lifestyle. But I want to ensure that they get to live their best lives, especially towards the latter of their years, and really enjoy the fruits of their labor, because I would not be here without the sacrifices that they made. How I define success is your ability to help people. I'm going to be very cliche. If I could talk to one person in history, I will stick with the cliche answer that it would have to be Kobe Bryant. And not because I myself am a former collegiate athlete, but he really is the epitome of what work ethic is. I would love a one-on-one with you, Kobe Bryant, if you're watching this. The businesses that I would admire the most, the first one would be Twitter. I mean, Twitter has always been put up against Facebook and Google and all the humongous conglomerates, but they haven't, in people's eyes, it seems like they've underachieved. But the one thing that they have done is that they have stuck to their values and their principles, and they haven't tried to over-engineer their product. I mean, I think the reason why Facebook is in the problem that they're in right now is because they tried to move too fast. They tried to not show patience and not stick to the fundamentals of what have built up their business. Just the culture of entrepreneurship that has kind of been developed, and people who say that they want to, have a business, and the reason why they want to have a business is because they don't want a boss, or they don't want to work for anybody, or they want unlimited income. Well, first of all, that comes with a lot of sacrifice, and second of all, when you have a business, you're always working for someone. You're always working for your team members. You're always working for your customers. You're always working for your investors, for your community. And if you're not, then you really don't have a business. You're just doing something that only you can benefit from, which, if you go back to what the definition of a business is, that's not necessarily what it affords. People want to generate a lot of wealth, they want to create a lot of wealth, but they're not willing to live in a way that's way below their means for 4 or 5 years to get there. And one of my biggest pet peeves is when people come up to me and they say, "Oh, Sahr, how can I want to be a business owner. How can I do that?" Well, do you have 12 to 15 hours a day? Can you live off of canned beans and soup that's made predominantly from water for 4 or 5 years? And if not, then maybe you should not be an entrepreneur. My favorite quote is, "The smallest grain can attract the largest star." And I mean, it's a little bit scientific in the sense that there's a gravity pull between all organisms, whether living or non-living, here in this universe. But it also kind of signifies the power that we have, even if we consider ourselves just a small piece of the puzzle. The top 3 entrepreneurs I'd want to work with would be Oprah Winfrey. I think she has built an industry and has came across a lot of barriers to get to where she's at. Secondly, Jeff Bezos, because he is very articulate in his vision and where he saw Amazon becoming X odd years ago to where it's now. And thirdly, I would say it would either be a cross between Elon Musk or Puff Daddy. The best thing that has happened to me in my life was probably realizing the power that can be afforded to individuals who are willing to go and not conform to the general rules of society. What is the worst case scenario that could occur if you don't follow your dreams? I'm very fortunate that my worst case scenario of not following my dreams is ending up and doing what everyone else is doing, which is a pretty comfortable life. So you can find C-Tribe by visiting www.capsule with 2 P's. So that's CAPPSULE, tribe, TRIBE.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and our next festival is November 14th to 17th, and we have 4 days worth of programming for you guys to indulge into.